Unanimous. A complete or absolute agreement. A unanimous verdict. A unanimous agreement. A unanimous vote. A unanimous support. After a lengthy discussion, they reached a unanimous decision on the proposal. Amendment. The process of altering a law or document. Proposed amendment. Constitutional amendment. Major amendment. Minor amendment. If the proper amendments were adopted, the system would become safe. Discretionary. Left to individual choice or judgment. Discretionary authority. Discretionary power. Discretionary grant. Discretionary fund. Some students are eligible for a discretionary grant for their university courses. Cross-section. A representative sample of a larger group. A cross-section of people. A cross-section of society. A cross-section of humanity. A cross-section of opinion. People applied for the job from a complete cross-section of society, male and female. Deviation. Departure from a standard or norm. Deviation from a norm. Deviation from a path. Deviation from a pattern. Deviation from a rule. Deviation from obeying the speed limit is what causes dangerous accidents on the road. Pragmatic. Dealing with things sensibly and realistically. A pragmatic approach. A pragmatic attitude. A pragmatic view. A pragmatic reason. The scientist had a pragmatic approach to dealing with the plastic pollution. Depiction. A representation in words or images. A graphic depiction. An accurate depiction. A realistic depiction. A vivid depiction. The story is captivating in its depiction of the country's early history. Surpass. Better or more than something else. Surpass a mark. Surpass a record. Surpass an achievement. Surpass an expectation. He was determined to surpass the achievements of his opponent player. Viability. Ability to survive or live successfully. Financial viability. Economic viability. Commercial viability. Long-term viability. The increasing amount of costs are threatening the viability of many businesses. Interference. Someone tries to interfere in a situation. Government interference. State interference. Bureaucratic interference. Foreign interference. The program has also been spoiled by political interference and corruption. Rigorous. Extremely thorough and careful. Rigorous scrutiny. Rigorous evaluation. Rigorous analysis. Rigorous testing. The second team adopted a much more rigorous approach to the final match. Privileged. Special benefits available only to some people. A privileged background. A privileged upbringing. A privileged position. A privileged class. Education is considered to be a privilege in many rural communities. Widespread. Distributed over a wide region. Widespread discrimination. Widespread corruption. Widespread criticism. Widespread resentment. The demonstrations took place against a background of widespread unemployment. Apparent. Clearly visible or understood. An apparent failure. An apparent reason. An apparent attempt. An apparent condition. How do you explain the apparent discrepancies between the rich and poor? Concern. To trouble someone with feelings of anxiety. Health concern. Safety concerns. Public concern. Widespread concern. There is a concern in animal conservation that the giant panda will soon become extinct. Counter. To speak up in opposition. Counter-threat. Counter-claim. Counter-accusation. Counter-argument. The politician had to counter the accusations being made against him. Ability. The quality of being able to perform. Academic ability. Cognitive ability. Mental ability. Remarkable ability. Machines multiply our labor and increase our ability to be more productive. Deficiency. An insufficient amount of something. A nutritional deficiency. A dietary deficiency. A vitamin deficiency. A severe deficiency. Severe iron deficiency can cause developmental delay and growth retardation. Academic. Relating to study and education. Academic eligibility. Academic integrity. Academic probation. Academic research. An academic magazine has full of tips for both teachers and students. Dehydration. Absence of a sufficient amount of water. Avoid dehydration. Prevent dehydration. Cause dehydration. Severe dehydration. The dehydration process occurs more quickly in desert environments. Attention. Notice taken of someone or something. Attention deficit. Attention span. Attention grabbing. Medical attention. People from all walks of life must pay attention to environmental problems. Reaction. A return or opposing action. Chain reaction. Drug reaction. Adverse reaction. Nuclear reaction. The decision made by the local government provoked an angry reaction from local residents. Ethical. Dealing with morals or the principles. An ethical dilemma. An ethical obligation. An ethical principle. An ethical implication. There are certain ethical principles that are basic to all the societies. Culture. Social behavior of a particular people or society. Traditional culture. Mainstream culture. Entrepreneur culture. Corporate culture. In the culture of Japan, people bow to each other when they meet. Fraud. Misleading conduct done by someone. Perpetrator fraud. Orchestrator fraud. Commit a fraud. Prevent a fraud. The policy benefit includes full protection against fraud and extended warranty coverage. Measure. Units that are used to express the size, an amount. Relief measures. Safety measure. Security measure. Protective measures. Their security measure proved successful and the projected lines were completed. Practitioner. Someone who works as a doctor or a lawyer. A general practitioner. A qualified practitioner. A medial practitioner. An alternative practitioner. Affected patients are recommended to seek the advice of a qualified health practitioner. Sexual. Associated with sex or the sexes. Sexual abuse. Sexual harassment. Sexual misconduct. Sexual orientation. Sexual exploitation and sexual manipulation constitute serious misconduct. Predator. An animal that eats other animals. A natural predator. A violent predator. A marine predator. A feral predator. The arrival of new predators threatened the survival of native species. Accuracy. The state of being correct or precise. Absolute accuracy. Historical accuracy. Total accuracy. Uncanny accuracy. The trainer has tried to increase the precision and accuracy of students' writing. Propaganda. Information of a biased or misleading nature. Spread propaganda. Disseminate propaganda. Believe propaganda. Prevent propaganda. These reports clearly contain elements of anti-government propaganda. Provoke. To cause a particular reaction or feeling. Provoke a reaction. Provoke a response. Provoke a backlash. Provoke an outcry. The noise from the airport would have provoked alarm and neighborly concern. Combat. Fight or contend against, oppose vigorously. Combat terrorism. Combat racism. Combat corruption. Combat pollution. The authorities should take more steps to combat racism in schools. Recession. A prolonged downturn in economy. A global recession. A severe recession. An economic recession. Survive a recession. The rise in joblessness is seen as indicative of a new economic recession. Respiration. The action of breathing. Anaerobic respiration. Artificial respiration. Slow respiration. Rapid respiration. Some animal tissues still practice anaerobic respiration, including muscle fibers. Restrain. To prevent from doing something. Restrain spending. Restrain growth. Restrain inflation. Restrain costs. The government is taking steps to restrain forthcoming inflation. Assign. Give someone a particular job or task. Assign a task. Assign a chore. Assign a duty. Assign a homework. Three detectives have been assigned to work on the murder case. Diplomatic. Smoothness and skill in handling others. Diplomatic activities. Diplomatic discussion. Diplomatic mission. Diplomatic relations. Both countries agreed to establish full diplomatic relations. Scarcity. Scarcity of resources. Scarcity of commodities. Scarcity of supplies. Scarcity of raw materials. The scarcity of skilled workers is worrying the manufacturing companies. Chronic. Continuing for a long time. Chronic anxiety. Chronic illnesses. Chronic infection. Chronic headache. One cause of the poet's suicide seems to have been chronic poverty. Secular. Not having any connection with religion. A secular democracy. A secular society. A secular regime. A secular ideology. Primary education should be free and secular in every single nation. Staple. A principal raw material or commodity. A staple diet. A staple food. A staple ingredient. A staple crop. Vegetables are a staple part of a healthy diet if you want to stay in shape. Synonymous. Very closely connected to something. Synonymous with quality. Synonymous with luxury. Synonymous with excellence. Synonymous with wealth. Innovation in social sectors is synonymous with the well-being of a country. Activate. Make something active or operative. Activate a system. Activate a process. Activate an alarm. Activate a gene. In certain rare circumstances, some vaccines could activate the disease. Temperate. Showing moderation weather patterns. A temperate climate. A temperate region. A temperate zone. A temperate rainforest. The Nile Valley keeps a temperate climate throughout the year. Unification. The process of unifying or uniting. A happy unification. A peaceful unification. A national unification. A political unification. There was a widespread demand for constitutional reform and national unification.